I'm Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Heck, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the heck you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. Good day, everyone. This is Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, and welcome to the What the Heck podcast, the podcast where we talk about health, mindset, and everything in between. So today, the topic of my podcast is actually called Unsitting, Strategies to Look and Feel Younger. And I often joke with patients that they are sitting is 200% greater risk of death. Like this is serious compared to those who sat for less than about 11 hours per day. And I know what you're probably thinking. Well, I work, 8 hours a day. Yes, I'm sitting, but I don't sit 13 hours. And I'm going to walk you through a day, and you'll see that we do oftentimes sit for that long. And that study also said that the duration of the bouts of sitting is people who usually sat for more than 30 minutes at a stretch. Pretty important here, the 30-minute mark here. People who frequently sat for more than 90 minutes at a stretch had a nearly twofold greater risk of death than those who always sat for less than 90 minutes at a stretch. So I think this study is really telling that we need to get up and also realize that exercising is great and I'm all for it, but we can't undo sitting by exercising. So we have to go to the gym or we have to exercise, but we also have to really integrate in our daily life movement. And, this is what we're going to talk about. I'm going to share with you 7 different hacks that I really think can make you more active, more conscious of your posture. And why is sitting so important? Well, as a healthcare practitioner and as a chiropractor, I can tell you that posture is the window to the spine and your nervous system. So it's not just about looking good and having a good posture. The fact is that your spine covers your nervous system, and your nervous system is responsible to innervate and supply power to every cell, tissue, and organs in your body. So it is truly important. So let's not just look at posture from, looking good or feeling good, but also having an optimally functioning nervous system. So it is key. So I told you that, we sit a lot, and at work is a major component of where we sit, but there's also sitting in front of the TV. And on another presentation, I was reading some stats on the average time most Americans will spend watching TV, and it's something like 8 hours a day, and it almost sounds surreal, but that's high. But also now there's surfing online and being on the social media platform. Like obviously I don't need to rhyme all the social media platform out there, but it's so easy to just be sitting there, go on your Facebook, and boom, an hour later you're still there, and you look at the time like, wow, what happened here? Other sitting that people kind of neglect to count into consideration is our commute. So if you're commuting half an hour each way, which is, I would say, pretty typical for most people, again, you're sitting an hour a day, 5 hours a week, and again, just add that to the equation. And I know myself, living in a cold climate city, when there's a snowstorm, I hear of people sitting in traffic for 2 hours each way, or people that live in big cities as well. Oftentimes too, people sit when they exercise. So they're using machine where they're sitting. We're seeing a woman here doing the leg press, but even upper body exercise can be seated. So, and again, the bike. So try to pick exercise that you're going to be standing, that are going to put you in extension and not in that common flexion, which we'll talk about in one of the hacks. So the first hack, and I'm so happy to see that now that most of my patients, I shouldn't say most, but a greater percentage of my patients now have a stand-up desk, which is fabulous. And what I like about that is that you can decide how long you want to be sitting and how long you want to be standing. But knowing what we know now with the 30-minute, max study that I just read you the stats from, instead of saying, okay, well, I'm going to work, sitting in the morning, and in the afternoon, I'm going to work standing. I think, thinking this through, we should rethink that strategy and do 30 minutes sitting, and then either go for a walk, or if you can't, just raise your desk. And people will say, well, it's inconvenient. Really, it's really not that complicated, just to crank things up. And if it means that you're going to live longer, I think, it is really, really worth it. I know sometimes, depending on where a person works, a lot of people work from home now. So you could have, a computer that is set maybe for the family, and then in the office you can have a non-expensive, I know some furniture store now have, I can call them the crank up desk that are manual, but again, it's just a little bit of exercise for you, that are really, really inexpensive for $200, $300. So it's really, really worth it. I mean, obviously you can lower them and have them fit with your chair as well. So I think sometimes people make it more complicated than it has to be. I know it's challenging if you're working for an employer and you need to go through them and so forth, but really you don't need anything that fancy to make it work. Another little tip here is to make sure that you have a mat that you're going to be standing on, and I believe they're called Antifatigue mats. And it's important because standing on concrete or on a hard surface will also not be great for you. So I think it's more trendy now to have those. There's more awareness of it, and like I said, it's the productivity is amazing. I'm fortunate that during the day I work standing. All of our desks at my clinic are standing because we're not there very long either. So, it really helps you keep and sustain your energy. Now, I know some people don't have that flexibility if you're working at a control center or something like that. So that just makes it more important for you to get up every 30 minutes and move around. So make it work around your work and your workstation as much as you can. The second hack, and I kind of led into that, is that crucial time of 30 minutes. And I know that we can have a timer that we can put on our, computer or desktop or phone to make us aware to get up every 30 minutes. Now, I don't have it with me, but I bought this cute little cube. It's actually in my other room with my stand-up desk, and I can have it programmed for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and 60 minutes. So I have fun with this, that when the beeper beeps, if I'm sitting, I take it upon myself to move and go, or potentially just switch to my other station, which is standing. The other hack that we have here is walking meetings. And I know myself that, maybe not just with meetings, but if I'm catching up with a friend, I say, well, instead of going to the coffee shop and sitting and drinking a coffee for an hour or two, why don't we just grab a quick coffee and make it on the go and just go walk in drink the coffee, obviously, not as you're hiking in the mountain, but, let's take the coffee on the go, or let's take another beverage. And then instead of sitting there, let's make it an active, catching up or what have you. And if it's your place of work, you know, why not at lunchtime or before lunchtime, just grab onto your running shoes and then just go for a walk. Have a kind of a clear agenda of what you want to discuss, because sometimes we're inclined to want to take notes. But now with phones, it's super easy to go into your notes and just, you know, type that in and say, okay, here's the agenda. And then if you really want to write something down, it's like, oh, we better write this down because we don't want to forget. So I love this picture because obviously it's business people that are out and about for a walk meeting. And I think hopefully workplace will, you know, embrace those kind of meetings. I mean, obviously you can't bring a whole boardroom of 30 people, but, you know, if it's 2 or 3 people, I think it's really easy to do that. Your energy is going to be even increased because of the blood flow and the activity. Number 4 hack here, and I put a picture of a dog here, because I think we don't have a dog, but I see our neighbors constantly walking the dog, and I'm assuming they go 2 or 3 times a day. So if you need an incentive and you love animals, I think having a pet is one of the best thing that you can do to force yourself, because they're going to have to go rain or shine. And, you know, most dogs will love to walk. So if you know that you have a tendency to be inactive and not want to go out for a walk, I think it's a brilliant way for people to really get active. My hack number 5 is picking up outdoor activities. And I know, again, I'm in a cold climate, and when it's minus 30 or 40 outside, believe me, we don't really feel like going, you know, downhill skiing. But I think for most people and at most time, if we can do something that is outside, you know, we get the vitamin D, we get the fresh air, you get the physical advantage of, you know, walking on an uneven terrain. So I think all those things are beneficial, and finding something that you love. And I know as people get a bit older, maybe running is not something that you want to do, but going hiking, you know, in a mountain with poles that you can activate your upper body, I think can really, really make a difference in your level of activity. And also picking an activity that you like. I see this with patients all the time that, you know, they're bent on to going to the gym, but yet they don't really like to go to the gym. So I always say to patient, what activities did you do when you were younger that you really enjoy, that, you know, your friends called you and, you know, you had your running shoes on and you were ready to go. So I think those activities are not going to be hard for you to sustain. So make sure that you pick activities that you're going to enjoy, because if you don't, let's face it, you're not going to develop the habit, and it's just not going to be good. And thinking also of walking, golf is another great strategy because it is outside. If you walk 18 holes, you know, depending on the length of the yardage of the course, you're going to have a good 5 or 6 kilometers of exercise. And especially, I know the golf course I play at, the back 9 is quite steep, so you get your heart rate going, and it just makes you a lot more active. Hack number 6 that I'm sharing here, and this is a book that I recommend to all of my patients, and it is by Dr. Eric Goodman. It's called the Foundation Training, and Dr. Goodman has this fabulous book that is all pictures basically, and he has a basic, an intermediate, and an advanced routine of exercise that you do to build your core, but also really focuses on the extensor. So just, you know, a quick recap of biomechanics. When we're sitting, we're in flexion. When we're like this, we're in flexion. When we're leaning forward, we're in flexion. So I always say to my patients, the name of the game is truly to counteract with extension exercise. And, you know, some studies have literally shown that being in flexion so much compared to an extension literally creates a decrease in brain activity. So it's pretty serious stuff. So I love this book because it can be used for beginners, people that are intermediate, and people that are advanced. I know sometimes people will look at the book and say, well, this is yoga, and some poses are similar, but the way Dr. Goodman teaches the poses, it really works more on extensors and, firing the glutes and everything to counteract that flexion that most people are in all day. The book is great. I know he also has some videos online that you can download, and the picture that is shown there is called the foundation pose. And I know from experience that the patients who have really followed through with this, people that had like chronic sciatica, on and off kind of thing, and chronic disc issue, really saw a difference incorporating this routine. So everything to help us keep our extensor muscle engaged and not develop muscle imbalances. And then hack number 7 here, I put a empty chair here because I think, we really have to reevaluate where we spend our time. Usually when I do the podcast, I'm standing because I'm using another part, a different computer, but it's being cognition of the amount of time that we spend sitting, that it is, again, like I said, catching up with friends. Some people like to play video games. Some people like to play on their iPads or what have you. And when we heard the stat at the beginning of 13 hours and more of sitting, most people, go, oh no, I don't sit that much. But if we were to do an inventory of all the activities that we do, if we spend that much time sitting, it will be really detrimental to our health. So I think awareness is key here, and understanding that this is not just, from, you're not burning as many calories, not from a metabolism point of view. There is that component, but it's about a posture point of view, because as I mentioned, the nervous system is protected by your spine, and your nervous system controls everything in the body, right up to the brain body connection. So like I said, if being in flexion is actually shown to decrease brain synapses and activity and make the brain shrink, we really have to take that seriously. And that's often the challenge with things that are less tangible. I always say to people, I wish sometime we could see inside, because people would be pretty shocked. It's not like teeth, for instance, where, if your teeth are decayed and you have cavities, it's going to look awful. You're going to see it. What's going on inside with your spine, the degeneration, the abnormal mechanic, the interference that it does on the nervous system, really, unless people have symptoms. But I think it's something like, I believe 10% of the nervous system will perceive pain. So unfortunately, if we're waiting to have pain and have those symptoms, then it's actually almost already too late. There is deterioration that's been present, and then there's negative health impact that is present. So please don't wait for symptoms, because symptoms are our body's alarm system telling us that something is wrong. So don't wait for that. But also, when your body is telling you something, if you've got sore hips, if you've got sore low back, if you've got numbness and tingling down your arms, listen to your body and really listen well, because it's not going to go away on its own, and it might get even worse, and it will have some repercussion when it comes to your health. So these were 7 hacks to really work on standing up, getting up, and getting some movement. As I call it unsitting, which we really have to be cognition of our time that we are sitting to create movement. So I actually, we have a few more minutes, but I'd love for you to, type in the comment, do a quick run of how many hours are you actually sitting per day, and were you surprised by that amount of time? Because oftentimes, as pure fun. When I see someone and, you know, have this discussion, I'll say, I'm going to give you a quick homework, and don't answer me now. I want you to think about it. Do a tally of the hours that you are spending sitting, and then, you know, let's discuss it next time. And I want you to come up with, you know, 3 strategies that you can do to, you know, change that. And I do share this information with patients, and usually they come up with solution on their own, with their own environment and their own workplace or their own life. So do that quick exercise, you know, run this through your daily or your typical day and see how much you are sitting. Because like I said, this is no joke. We're talking about longevity here and quality of life, because posture is the window to the spine, and your nervous system is the master system and controls everything. So before we end the show, I'm happy to report that I physically have copies of the book, Hack Your Health Habit, which I'm super excited. And I have a whole chapter on what I just talked about in the book. And if you're interested to get the first section of the book, which is the first section, the first 4 chapters, you can text the number 716-203-1356, and you will be you'll instantly gain access to the first section of my book. You can also pre-order it at amazon.ca or .com, depending on if you are in the US or in Canada. It will be released within a week and a half, and I'm super excited to be able to share the information. There's 62 different topics, 62 different chapters of all this kind of information. So I'm super excited to be sharing this work, as it took me just about 3 years to write this. So this was Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, and our topic today was all about unsitting, to, you know, making sure that we are aging well and aging with a healthy spine and a nervous system. So again, just do a quick tally of the number of hours and come up with 3 strategies that you can start today to hack, you know, your health habits and change that. So next week we will be podcasting again at the same time at 11 a.m. where I will have a special guest, and we're going to discuss things that are all fitness related, and I look really forward to having her on the show. Have a great week, everyone, and I will see you next week. I'm Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Heck, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the heck you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. This has been a Wellness on the Go production.